Jesus was the master storyteller. And when he told a story, there was often violence, suspense, sometimes a lot of action, things that would keep the people's attention. And he tells a story that really got their attention because they understood what was going on. So let me see if I can set the scene before we actually let Jesus tell the story. There were people called the Samaritans that lived in the middle of Judah and Israel, and they were heathen. And the Jews just hated the Samaritans. They said they were good for nothing but to be used as coals for fire. They were just dogs. And the Samaritans hated the Jews. Well, now Jesus is going to tell a story where these people are mixed. Jesus said that a man was on his way from Jerusalem to Jericho, and that road is a very steep road. Jerusalem is very high, and Jericho is one of the lowest spots on earth. And so it's downhill, and there also are large cliffs along the way, which make it a dangerous road because robbers can come out from behind the cliffs, and wild animals can jump down. And everybody knew that the road from Jerusalem to Jericho was a very dangerous road. Well, Jesus said this businessman was on his way from Jerusalem to Jericho, and robbers came out. And they knocked him off of his horse, and they beat him, and they stole all of his stuff, and they left him in the road to die. Now, it's hot. The sun just burns down on the road to Jericho. And the man is lying there, and he's thirsty. They've taken all of his water and all of his money, and he knows he's going to die if somebody doesn't come along and help him. And in the distance, he hears footsteps. And he thinks, oh, somebody's coming. So he cries out, help me, help me. But it's a priest. And the priest is on his way to the temple. And he looks at the man lying in the road and he thinks, now if I pick him up, he's liable to die. And then I won't be able to go to the temple and do my job. And so the priest goes around on the other side and he's gone. And the man lying in the road hears the sound of the feet fading in the distance. Oh, he thought sure the priest would help him. And then he hears somebody coming again. He hears footsteps. And he hollers again, help me, help me. And this time it's a Levite. But the Levite looks at him and crosses over on the other side of the road and walks right on by. And the man thinks, I'm doomed. No one is going to help me. And then he hears a horse coming. And he thinks, I must try once more. And so he cries out, help me, please help me. And the horse stops. And the man on the horse gets off, and he's a Samaritan. And the Jewish man lying there in the road must have thought, oh goodness, this Samaritan's not going to help me. The Samaritan put oil and wine on his wounds. That will disinfect them. And he wrapped them up, and he gave the man a drink of his water, and he lifted him up and put him on his horse and took him to a little inn down the road. And he said to the innkeeper, now you keep the man. I'm going on to Jericho, but I'll be back in a few days. And when I come back, I've given you some money. If it's not enough, I'll pay you more when I get back. And he went on his way. And Jesus said, which one has really been a neighbor? Well, now you would have expected the priest to be a neighbor to a Jewish man who was in trouble. You would have expected the Levite to be a neighbor to the Jewish man who was in trouble. You certainly wouldn't have expected the Samaritan to be a neighbor to the man who was in trouble. But kids, Jesus wants us to understand that anybody who's in trouble is our neighbor, and we should stop and help. And of course, when he asked the question, there's only one answer. The Samaritan was the good neighbor. And so, regardless of whether it's some kid that's been mean to you that's in trouble, or whether it's a neighbor kid that you really don't like very much, or a brother or sister, don't you be excited and think it's fun when they're in trouble. You be a good neighbor and go help them. Jesus says that we're to love the Lord our God with all our heart and soul and mind and strength, and our neighbor the way we love ourselves. Now, if we needed help, we want somebody to help us. So if you see somebody who needs help, You be sure that you're the Samaritan and the good neighbor.